Hello and welcome again to a presentation on the treatment, uses, and formulations of medical cannabis. I am Corey Birchman, MD, one of the physicians working closely with the Prime Alternative Treatment Centers of New Hampshire. Today's discussion will be a guide to using medical cannabis for the patient. Cannabis is a flowering plant that has been in existence for over 2,000 years. It consists of fibrous stalks, which have been used for paper, clothing, rope, and building materials. The leaves, however, including the flowers and roots, have been used almost exclusively for medicinal purposes, and the seeds of the plant have been used for food and fuel oil. Cannabis leaves and flowers are consumed in several forms medicinally. The dried flower buds, as well as various types of concentrated, loose, or pressed resin extracted from the flowers or leaves through a variety of methods. Once mature, the plant's leaves and flowers are covered with trichomes, which are tiny glands of resinous oil, which contain the active ingredient known as cannabinoids and terpenes. These compounds provide the physical and psychoactive effects. Scientists have identified over 100 different types of cannabinoids and terpenes. Concentrations or percentages of each type of cannabinoid range widely from plant to plant and from strain to strain. The first identified and best known cannabinoid is THC. The scientific name delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol. THC has the most significant psychoactive effects of any of the cannabinoids, and the ratio of THC to the other cannabinoids varies from strain to strain. While THC for many years has been the focus of breeding and research due to its various psychoactive and therapeutic effects, science is learning more about non-psychoactive cannabinoids, which have strong physiologic effects that can be therapeutic. CBD, or cannabidiol, has been found to relieve seizures, inflammation, anxiety, and nausea. These are many of the same therapeutic qualities as THC, but without psychoactive effects. CBD is the main cannabinoid in low THC cannabis strains, and modern cannabis cultivators have been developing strains with greater CBD content for medical use. Cannabinol, or CBN, is only mildly psychoactive. It's been found to decrease intraocular pressure for glaucoma sufferers, and it will diminish seizure occurrence. Cannabichromene, or CBC, promotes the analgesic effects, that is, pain-relieving qualities, of THC, and it in itself has sedative or calming effects. Cannabigerol, or CBG, has sedative effects and antimicrobial properties. As well, it can lower intraocular pressure. And THCV, tetrahydrocannabivarin, is shown promise for type 2 diabetes and related metabolic disorders. In addition to the cannabinoids, other cannabis plant molecules are biologically active. These molecules have been known to have health effects. They are flavonoids and terpenes, or together called terpenoids. Terpenoids determine the flavor and smell of the strain of cannabis. Collectively, cannabinoids, terpenoids, and other compounds are all secreted by the glandular trichomes found most densely on the floral leaves and flowers of the female plant. Effects of cannabinoids. Different people have different experiences. One individual may feel stress. One individual may feel stress relief. One may feel overstimulated, and one may be relaxed. Another can feel energized and on task and focused. There are many factors that impact these effects. The amount used, which is the dosage, the strain of cannabis used, the method of consumption, the environment and setting in which the product is consumed. Possibly most importantly, the experience and history of the cannabis user, the biochemistry of that user, their mindset or mood, their nutrition or diet, and of course the type of cannabis that is employed. Though cannabis is biologically classified as a single species, Cannabis sativa, there are at least 3 distinct plant varieties: Cannabis sativa, Cannabis indica, and Cannabis ruderalis. This third type is quite rare. More commonly are the hybrids, which are crosses between sativa and indica varieties. Cannabis used for fiber is typically referred to as hemp and has only small amounts of the psychoactive cannabinoid THC, usually less than 1%. Genetic breeders of the cannabis seed have developed thousands of different strains of cannabis from these 3 original varieties. These strains have marked differences. Today, we mostly find hybrids in the marketplace, and it can be difficult to find a pure indica or sativa. All of the types of medical cannabis discussed produce effects that are more similar than not. These include pain and nausea control, appetite stimulation, reduction in muscle spasm, and improved sleep. Yet, individual strains will have differing cannabinoid and terpene profiles and will produce noticeably different effects. Many people report finding some strains more beneficial than others. Strains, for example, with more CBD tend to produce better pain and spasticity relief. And as noted above, effects will vary from individual to individual based on the setting in which it's used and that person's physiologic state when using it. In general, sativas and indicas can be distinguished as follows. Sativas. The primary effects are thoughts and feelings. Sativas tend to produce stimulating feelings, and many prefer it for daytime use. Some noted therapeutic effects from the use of sativas: stimulating and energizing, an increased sense of well-being, focus, and creativity, a reduction in depression, and an elevation in mood, relief of a headache, migraines, and nausea, and an increase in appetite. Some noted side effects from the use of sativas: an increase in anxiety and paranoia. Indicas. The primary effects are on the body. Indicas tend to produce sedated feelings, and many prefer it for nighttime use. Some noted therapeutic effects from the use of indicas: it can provide relaxation and reduce stress. It can relax muscle spasms and reduce the pain and inflammation associated with muscle injury. It can reduce the pain of headaches and migraines, and it aids in sleep. Indicas reduce anxiety and nausea, and similarly will increase the appetite. Indicas can reduce intraocular pressure and reduce seizure frequency. Some of the noted side effects of indicas include feelings of tiredness, fatigue, and fuzzy thinking. Hybrids. Strains bred from crossing 2 or more varieties, with typically one being dominant. For example, a sativa dominant hybrid may be helpful in stimulating appetite and relaxing muscle spasms. Hybrid crosses are reported to work well to combat nausea and increase appetite. Cannabis extracts and concentrates. The dried flower or bud from a manicured, mature female plant is the most widely consumed form of cannabis in the United States. Elsewhere in the world, extracts or concentrates of the cannabis plant are more commonly used. Concentrates are made from cannabinoid-rich glandular trichomes, which are found in varying amounts on cannabis flowers, leaves, and stalks. The flowers of a mature female plant contain the most trichomes. Kief. Kief is a powder made from the trichomes removed from the leaves and flowers of the cannabis plant. Kief can be compressed to produce cakes of hashish, or it can be consumed typically by smoking in a powder form in a pipe or with a cannabis bud or other herbs. Hashish, also known as hash, is a collection of compressed or concentrated resin glands. That is a compression of the trichomes. Hash contains the same active cannabinoids as the flower and leaves, but typically in a higher concentration. Hash is usually a paste-like substance with varying hardness. Good quality is typically described as soft and pliable. Over time, it becomes progressively harder and less potent as it oxidizes and the oils evaporate. The THC content of hashish can range from 15 to 70%. Hash is often smoked with a small pipe. It can be used in food, in a water pipe or hookah, a vaporizer. It can be mixed with a joint of cannabis bud or aromatic herbs. The color of hash varies from black to brown to golden to blonde. Typically, the color reflects the method of harvesting, manufacture, and storage. It is important to note that the effects from smoking hash are no different than that of smoking other forms of cannabis. The fact is that hash effects vary in the same way that strains of cannabis do. This stems from differences in potency of the hash and the regional variations between cannabis strains used for making it. Hash oil is a mixture of essential oils and resins extracted from the mature cannabis foliage through the use of various solvents such as ethanol or hexane. The solvent is then evaporated, which leaves the oil. Hash oil tends to have a high proportion of cannabinoids. A range from 30 to 90% THC content can be found. Hash oil can be smoked with a specialty pipe or with a vaporizer, a cannabis bud in a pipe joint, or added to food. Cannabis edibles. Cannabis can be ingested or eaten when added to cake, cookies, dressings, and other foods for ingestion. It can also be brewed into a tea or other beverages. To be effective, cannabis and its extracts or concentrates must be heated in order to convert the cannabinoid tetrahydrocannabinolic acid into active THC. Digestive processes further alter the metabolism of cannabinoids, and they produce a different metabolite of THC in the liver. That metabolite may produce markedly different effects or negligible ones, depending upon the individual. The onset of effects are delayed, and they last longer due to slower absorption of the cannabinoids. Cannabinoids are fat-soluble oils, meaning they dissolve in oils, butters, fats, and alcohol, but not water. Processes using oil, butter, fat, or alcohol can extract the cannabinoids completely from plant material. Various forms of converted cannabis can be used for edible manufacturing. Each can be made from the cannabis flowers, leaves, or concentrates, such as hash. The potency of the edible will depend upon the material used in making it and the amount used. Edibles made with hash will be stronger than those made with leaf trim. Edibles acquired from a medical marijuana dispensary will be labeled as far as content and dosage. Cannabis oil. Cannabis oil is a cooking oil infused with cannabinoids. Various means to extract include heating the oil and the cannabis mixture at a low temperature in a frying pan or pot, a double boiler, or a slow cooker, and then straining out plant material. Cannabis oil can be used in any recipe that includes oil that does not exceed 280 degrees Fahrenheit, which is the evaporating point of the oil. This is the process by which cookies, cakes, candies, and other food items are manufactured. Cannabis butter is a butter which is infused with cannabinoids. Raw cannabis is heated with butter to extract the cannabinoids into the fat. Various means to extract include heating the butter and cannabis mixture at low temperatures in a frying pan or pot, double boiler, or slow cooker, and then straining out the plant materials, as was discussed with cannabis oil. Cannabis butter can be used in any recipe that includes butter, and one whose cooking does not exceed 280 degrees Fahrenheit. Tinctures. A tincture uses ethyl alcohol, that is pure grain alcohol, not rubbing alcohol or methyl alcohol, to extract the cannabinoids. The patient uses droplet amounts and the substance is absorbed through the mucous membranes in the mouth. Sublingual sprays are another way of using a tincture. Ethyl alcohol is used to extract the cannabinoids, and the patient uses a pump to spray the cannabis-laced alcohol solution under the tongue. Cannabis topicals are substances that are applied to the skin. Cannabinoids have been combined with a penetrating topical cream that can enter the skin and body tissue and allow for direct application to affected areas, such as allergic skin reactions, post-herpetic neuralgia, muscle sprains and strains, and sites of local inflammation and swelling. Cannabinoids in cannabis interact with the CB1 and CB2 receptors that are found throughout the body, including the skin. Both THC and cannabidiol have been found to provide pain relief and reduce inflammation. Topical cannabis does not produce a psychoactive effect, which varies from the method of ingestion or inhalation of the medicine. There are different types of topicals, including salves, which are cannabinoids heated into coconut oil combined with beeswax and then cooled. This is rubbed directly onto the skin. Creams. Cannabinoids are heated into shea butter and combined with other ingredients and cooled, and then rubbed directly onto the skin. Topicals can produce multiple anti-inflammatory and analgesic effects. Research has been limited to the studies on allergic and post-herpetic neuralgia, but there are many reports on topical treatments of efficacy, including certain types of dermatitis, arthritis, and chronic inflammation. This concludes this discussion on uses of medical cannabis, treatment, and formulation. Please refer to the website of the Prime Alternative Treatment Centers for further details, and you may certainly pose questions to the medical staff, and we will either post answers or contact you directly. Thank you for your attention.